Barcast Audio here. I am here today to talk to you guys about the bar exam essay template, our free resource that you can access at BarcastAudio.com. So let's jump right in. Remember to subscribe to get more of these bar exam tips, law school tips sent right to your YouTube channel or TikTok. And let's dive in here. Okay, so today I'm going to be walking you guys through our bar exam essay template, which you can access by going to BarcastAudio.com. You just put in your email, and you can just access it right there. It's very easy, and it's been a really helpful resource for a lot of students who I think have really benefited and who have told me that they've used this in preparing for the bar exam and figuring out how to organize a lot of these bar exam essays. So just to get started, as a quick introduction, the bar exam essay section can really sink a person's score. And part of that is that the bar exam essay section is perhaps, in my opinion at least, the most mentally taxing because it requires an immediate recall of the intricacies of a law. All the elements, you have to enumerate them. You need to be quick. You need to be on top of your stuff when you're doing this. So that's what makes it all really so difficult. So when I'm talking to you guys about the bar exam essay template, I want you to remember that this is just a guide here, right? I can shepherd you and give you the tools to respond well to these essay prompts and these hypos, but ultimately it's going to be on you to keep your cool, especially when things get a little hairy, and that's something we'll address when going through this, but to really just remember that the bar exam is equal parts a test of your mental mettle as it is a test on your knowledge of the law. They want you to sort of panic. They want you to sort of break. And that's how people fail this test. That's how people fall through the cracks here. So without further ado, let's sort of break down the introduction, the key subjects we're going to be talking about within this video and within our bar exam essay template. So if you open the bar exam essay template, you go to the first page, it's the introduction. It talks about a lot of what I said before. Don't let this section, the essays, crush your bar exam chances. And then it sort of breaks down what we're going to talk about. So first up, issue spotting. What I think is the most important subject, and it's just kind of one of those things that the more essays you do, you've likely done issue spotting in law school on your law school essays, and it's not something new. But on the bar exam, the way we think about issues is a little bit different from the way we think about them in law school. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Next, we're going to talk about identifying relevant facts. So for me, this is the thing on the bar exam that is really different, because in law school, a lot of the facts are mushy. And when I say mushy, I mean that they are facts that you can interpret one way or another. And you can say, okay, in this case, the court applied these facts as followed. And in another case, they applied them this way. And if the court opts to adopt the majority rule, then they'll use this. If they opt to adopt the minority rule, then they'll use that. So that's sort of the mushy analytical thinking that works well and allows you to score well on law school exams. But on the bar exam, it's a little bit different. What we really want here is to connect the facts of the hypothetical with the black letter law rule statement that we're going to have. And we don't want to get into this mushy analysis. Well, if the court adopts this rule, then no, they don't care about that. They want to just they want you to tell them how it should be. Don't be mushy. Just tell them how it is. So then we're going to talk about regurgitating concise rule statements, which is another key point. You're going to have a lot of rules to remember. You're going to have a lot of stuff to memorize, and it's doable. You just have to really put the work in and be able to recall these quick, easy, dirty rule statements and just get them down on the page. Then for me, this is where I see the most improvement in students as we go through these essays, and that's in developing a nexus between the rules and the facts. And this nexus is really where points are scored, because you need to, that analysis, any analysis you have is going to be filling out that nexus, connecting the facts of the hypo with whatever the elements of your rule are, and providing an analysis as to whether the facts apply to that rule, whether they satisfy that element or not. So now let's move on first to the first worksheet that you access. So this is a hypothetical that I'll read through with you. You can access this again at BarcastAudio.com, and I'll post it on the screen here so you can take a look. So going through this, on June 1st, a car parts salesman and a manufacturer meet at a local car show. The manufacturer showed the car salesman a set of widgets that were on sale for $10 each. After examining the widgets, the car salesman agrees to place an order for 10 of them. He tells the manufacturer, "Please send these widgets to my warehouse. I'll send over payment once I have received them." The manufacturer agrees and tells the salesman, "I'll send over the widgets in a few days." On June 15th, the manufacturer mails the widgets to the salesman's warehouse. The manufacturer attached a note to the shipment, which read, "Thank you for your business. Please find enclosed, pursuant to our agreement, 8 widgets. Please send over $80 for payment upon your receipt of this package." On June 17, the salesman sends a check back to the manufacturer for $80, attaching a note requesting delivery of the outstanding 2 widgets. The manufacturer never responded to this message. The salesman is frustrated because the $10 price for the widgets is $4 less than he normally pays from another manufacturer. On July 17th, the salesman again writes the manufacturer, claiming that the manufacturer was contractually obligated to deliver 10 widgets, and he breached the contract by only delivering 8 widgets. On August 17th, the manufacturer responded to this letter with a note stating, quote, "We had no contract. I have no duty to deliver the remaining widgets." So the question here is there an enforceable contract between salesman and manufacturer? What I love about this question is sort of its simplicity. It's a contracts question. There's sort of a few balls in the air, but it's good because it's an example of how some of these questions present themselves. They're not necessarily confusing on their face, but they just require that you really identify the most relevant facts here. So if you were to read through this question, and if you look at the attack sheet or the bar exam template, it tells you along the top, read through this hypo, jot down in the box below any issues or important facts that you can identify. So the next page that we have is made explicitly for you to list the issues being tested in this fact pattern. So I think just on its bare face, it's really useful to do this because I want you to go through and say, okay, this is what's being tested. This is what's being tested. At least your gut interaction. Don't spend too much time on this because ultimately what really matters is the analysis here. But I think you need to get really good at quickly jumping through these fact patterns and saying, okay, ding, 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 ding. This is what is being tested here. Next, I want you to identify, once you have those issues in your head, what are the most important facts to your analysis. And that's a box unto itself within the bar exam essay template. And finally, I want you to list any rule statements that apply. So once you find the issues, you sort of understand what rules are being tested. I want you to just jot down, go through that fact and say, okay, this is the fast and dirty rule of what's being tested here. So once you find the facts, I want you to go in and look at the fast and write down the fast and dirty rule of what's being tested here. Any rules that apply to any of the issues being tested. It could be like a short paragraph, 3 sentences. It could be 1 sentence sometimes. But that's how you're really gonna, once you have these 3 elements, those are like the most important parts. Then the key becomes connecting the facts to those rule statements. And believe it or not, this sounds sort of simplistic, almost like an outline, right? But this is how these essays are graded. They go through the issue, they go through the facts, they go through the analysis, that connection that I mentioned before of the facts and the rule statement. That's why people will say, if you don't know the law, make up a friggin' rule statement, because you can still get points between connecting the relevant facts and the rule statements. So what do we have next here? So I want to break down the important facts, okay? So going through this, if you look at the sheet, I think it's the 4th page here, I have listed the important facts. So in this first paragraph, I've highlighted June 1st. I've highlighted on sale for $10 each. I've then highlighted agrees to place an order for 10 of them. Then I've highlighted I'll send over payment once I've received them. Then I highlighted I'll send over widgets in a few days. Next paragraph, it's June 15th. Please find enclosed, pursuant to our agreement, 8 widgets. Please send over $80 for payment. upon your receipt of this package, and so on and so forth. You can see sort of on the screen here what I've highlighted, what I'm referring to when I'm talking about this. And now in the next slide, I've broken this down in the template, right? So here we go. Sentence number 1. This is how the answer to this essay would go. At issue here is whether. Insert a general rule statement about what is being tested. Okay. So, for example, in this question, at issue here is whether a valid oral contract was formed between manufacturer and salesman at their initial meeting on June 1st. This is a short, to-the-point issue statement. It gives you exactly big picture what's being tested here, and it allows for a lot of extrapolation in the areas to come, right? So now, that's your first sentence. This is sort of a breakdown of what one of these essays might look like. Okay, so now next up, rule statements for this issue. In this section, we're talking about 2 to 5 sentences. So where the issue is really just one quick and dirty sentence, this section is going to be a little more involved. It's going to be, you're going to be fleshing out these rule statements, giving us all the elements, enumerate them because it makes it easier for the graders. Make it easier, make it easy for them to give you points. Any opportunity to give you points, make it easy, okay? So now let's go through what an example of one of these rule paragraphs might look like. The example here for this question is a contract for the sale of goods is governed by Article 2 of the Universal Commercial Code. A contract exists where there is 1, mutual assent, meaning an offer and acceptance, 2, consideration, and 3, no defenses to contract formation. An offer exists where a party manifests a willingness to be contractually bound and creates a power of acceptance in another. An offer is accepted where a party expresses an unequivocal manifestation of intention to be bound by the terms of the offer. Consideration exists where there has been a bargain for exchange for value. Okay, you may be thinking this is all sort of elementary, sort of very straightforward, simple. It's that way on purpose. Remember, when you're writing out these rule statements, the people who are grading these tests, they are legal scholars. They are smart people, right? But you need to pretend that they are babies, little tiny law babies who don't know what any of this means. So you need to break it down in the most minute detail because that allows you to say, okay, I gave you all these little elements, then I gave you all these facts, and then I connected them in a way that made sense. And that's why you should give me a 6. You should give me maximum points on this essay. So you have to keep that in mind. These are little legal babies, and you need to explain it to them in the most minute detail to really maximize your points. So now, let's talk about the last, final, and what I believe is the most important section here is your analysis and your conclusion. This is typically going to be sentences 6 to 10, and I give you a little example here along the top. The first sentence says here, and then we'll use a conclusory statement on how the rule applies to these facts, and then because. And the because is important because that is the connector word. That is an integral word because that is really what's going to connect your conclusory statement about why the facts of this rule apply here and the actual hypofacts that are like being used here. So let's see how that first sentence would apply in a practicality. So I have listed here, manifestation of assent existed between the two parties because at their first car show, the manufacturer's widgets were on sale for $10 each, creating an offer which was freely acceptable by a customer. Okay, so here, and then we have the broad statement, manifestation of assent existed between the two parties. That's our broad conclusory statement. Because... And now, here's where we bring in those facts. Here's where we make that connection. At their first car show meeting, the manufacturer's widgets were on sale for $10 each, creating an offer which was freely acceptable by a customer. Ding, 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 ding. There's nothing else there. We already nailed all the points there. So that is a great first sentence, and it's very simple. It's very straightforward. A lot of times people overthink this, but this is really all there is. I talk about it in the next example. It says, similarly, another conclusory statement when hypofacts supporting this conclusory statement. We're just making another connection. The when there is another connective word. So how does that apply in the next sentence? Let's take a look here. So here we have. Similarly, the car salesman accepted the manufacturer's offer when, connection again, he agreed to place an order for 10 of them and requested that the manufacturer send the widgets over to his warehouse. Okay, there we go. Again, we're maximizing points. We're making that connection. Beautiful. Now, finally, additionally, consideration exists here because, another connective word, here the facts come, you're starting to pick up the cadence of it. This is how these essays work. Both the manufacturer and the salesman incurred legal detriment by promising to tender payment and the delivery and deliver the widgets in exchange. Finally, nothing in the facts indicate that any of the defenses to formation would apply. Now, that last part is important, right? Because in assessing any contract question, you always have to throw in that little quick sentence to say, are there any defenses that apply here? Sometimes the defenses will be clear. You'll see a little fact in there, and that's why these issues are important, where that little fact with a little tweak could add an additional issue for you to analyze. So there could be a second or a third issue within a question, and that second or third issue could be contract defenses. And right here, because we look through the facts, we don't see anything that immediately jumps out. We remember our various contractual defenses to formation. We don't see anything. We throw in that little short sentence and we get points. We get extra points just for saying that what otherwise might be apparent. You could say, okay, I didn't mention anything. Obviously, none of the defenses matter here, but it's not obvious. It's not obvious to the people grading your test. So make sure you go that extra mile. You throw that in there. Okay. Now, conclusion. Your conclusion, quick, short. Therefore, and then a final statement concluding the analysis of the issue. So here, my example is, therefore, a valid contract was formed between the manufacturer and the salesman. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks simple. It sounds simple because it is simple. You have to be, we overthink these a lot of the time. And I understand. I'm saying it's simple. We need to apply the rules all within a 30-minute period on the MBE. But really, this sort of basic formatting, this basic template will allow you to maximize your points. You really have to keep this in mind. Use this essay template. If you go to the next page, I have a blank version. You can print out a million of them. Use them on every practice test you do, at least in the early parts. Or a lot of times what I really recommend people do, and this is something I'm going to do another video on, early in the bar exam process, it's really helpful to write out rule statements, write out answers, what it feels like, get a sense for how it feels to write out one of these complex, sort of longer answers, or on a question that has multiple issues where it's a bit of a crazy mushy thing. But don't get discouraged when you're writing out those model answers, because a lot of times people look at these model answers and they're like, I can't do that. It seems so far away from what I'm doing as a student that I could be writing all of this and just recalling it. Don't get wrapped up in that. Remember that the bar exam is a test of minimum competency, and you can do it. You just have to study smarter. Don't study hard as well, but don't study harder for the sake of studying harder. I don't want you to suffer here. It's not supposed to be a suffering thing. It's totally doable. You're smart enough to have gone through law school, to have excelled, to taken the LSAT. Many of you got scholarships. You're smart enough to do that. You're smart enough to pass the bar. So don't get caught up. Don't get psyched out by the MBE. Use our free essay template on the bar exam. I include a bunch of them at the end. Remember, you can get it at BarcastAudio.com. Just click on the free resources. We have a few other resources. Be sure to subscribe so you'll see more of these videos. I'm thinking about doing more essay workshops. And be sure to share this video with your friends, just whatever you think might help. Remember, we have audio outlines, essay attack sheets, audio flashcards if you're looking to study on the go for the bar exam. We have a lot of materials for you over at BarcastAudio.com. So come over, check them out, and be sure to comment any videos you'd like to see done on this channel. So until then, thanks guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.